Welcome. Why do you always do that? You know, this is only a 20-minute podcast.
Yes, I know.
All right. How's it going?
It's good. I've been playing Halo.
Yeah, me too. Welcome to the GAME.minder Report, your weekly source of updating you about gaming
updating you of the upcoming games
and news
and information for the week of
November 13th.
November 13th.
Yes,
it's Tuesday the 13th.
Tuesday the 13th.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so
Before
nothing
we
is
get
going
into
on.
any of the other
Nothing's
stuff,
going on.
I want to
in
talk
the
about
news.
Halo.
Fine.
Can we talk about just for a minute?
Okay.
What do you think of the new weapons? That's the main question that I have for you.
I like the battle rifle that's back. I like the light rifle.
The light rifles are good.
I don't like how in multiplayer the weapons seem to be. I think they made the choice of okay, we're going to appease a little bit to the Call of Duty people and not have it as Doom Quake-ish with everyone having rocket launchers and everyone having like the BFG 3000.
Yeah, I think that is probably my biggest complaint is that you got and maybe it's not really a complaint, but you really have to plan your loadouts as you unlock stuff. You have to build some loadouts that you know are going to work for certain game types because there's very few weapons just sort of littered around the various stages. I know this for a fact because there was a couple stages that are holdovers, like they're back from the previous games, and like immediately I would run to where I knew the shotgun was going to be. And there's nothing there.
Well, the other thing too is that the weapons, all weapons that are map generated, are on the map with waypoints. The sword, the grenade, the sniper.
That's true.
So there's only 2 per map usually,
right?
Maybe 2 per map, maybe an extra grenade. And it's still better than the one-shot kill unless you like playing SWAT, which I actually played a little bit last night, which was kind of fun.
Is that in Team Slayer Pro?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's an actual thing.
I didn't see it.
It's a playlist. It's a new playlist that just came out yesterday.
That
which is the one thing. This is the one thing that Halo is going to do to combat the Call of Duty. Is each week Halo is going to come out with a brand new.
Right.
And I don't want to get this into review because we usually talk about new games, but
upcoming games.
Upcoming games.
Right.
Games that are going to be released or announced. But this is a huge week, a huge 3 weeks in gaming. I'm not going to say that it's unheralded, but it's definitely a historical as far as money made.
Absolutely,
it's hitting records left and right.
Halo, I think they said it cracked $200 million in the first 24 hours.
It's going to make 300 in the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
Call of Duty Blops 2 is going to make a bunch of stuff. Assassin's Creed just made its stuff, and guess what's coming out on the 18th? Wii U. Okay.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that in the upcoming games, too. So, all right, so that's enough Halo talk. Let's talk about some of the news that hit this week.
Okay. I have something real quick.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, the people that bought Blops 2 yesterday that waited in line, the PC version, the second disc was actually Mass Effect 2.
Yep.
Now, they did have the opportunity of putting in a code and just downloading the game from Steam.
Which is several gigs, though, right?
Right, which defeats the purpose of waiting in line to pick up the game.
I mean, this is obviously just a packaging issue, but it's a bit of a mistake on such a big title, and especially when you talk about all these people who waited in line and they wanted to get home and shoot some dudes in the face, but what are you going to do? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming they're going to have some sort of trade-in thing where you can send it in and get the disc like it matters at this point.
Right, because at that point, or maybe maybe Steam will give them a discount or a gift card or
something
to Applebee's.
Who knows? Some other quick quick notes. We've got the friend codes on Wii are finally going away.
Whatever. I mean, Nintendo basically doesn't think the internet was either probably invented by Al Gore, and B was invented just last year because they didn't care at all.
Well, this is one of those ways that, I mean, people have made this comparison before. The idea of Apple and Nintendo being sort of cousins in terms of corporate culture, and this is an example of that. Apple is really good at a lot of things, but when they tried to do social networking, first of all, they were late to the party, and they did it poorly with Ping that was in iTunes, and they ended up shuttering it. And there's other examples. They knew they had to do internet services, and they ended up with iTools and then .Mac, and .Mac was wildly awful in many ways.
And me failed.
Exactly.
And failed not in popularity, but it just failed.
Yeah, it was
all
just,
the time.
It was down all the time, and it was just junk. But so, and this is another one of those examples. Like they sort of just pretend something doesn't exist for a while, and then they try to do it, and it doesn't quite work. And this is a situation where Nintendo has done the same thing. They were like, "Oh, people want to connect. Fine, we'll give them these ridiculous codes."
I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
I think Nintendo did it to protect the children. I think they made it so incredibly hard that you
Yeah.
had to know. You had to call the other person. You had to call up and be like, "Can my mom talk to your mom?"
Yeah.
And share the codes, because the Nintendo is for children. It always has been. And even though we're growing older and we're mad at Nintendo for not catering to us older people,
Right.
it's always for children.
Yeah.
And-
I mean, I see that point of view, but I still don't think it was such a great idea.
No, it's not a great idea. Now they're coming to something a little bit more streamlined, which
Yeah.
I agree with. Final note: some licensing issues with some Unreal licensing
Totally unreal, man.
with Knights of Silicon.
Silicon Knights. Yeah, they've been ordered to destroy all Unreal code and products. So basically, products that they built on the Unreal Engine,
Right.
they've now been ordered to just destroy them.
Right. Anything that was not sold or that they have to destroy. Now, this was kind of funny where they actually sued Epic. Epic countersued,
Yeah.
and the countersuit won. Usually, when there's the countersuit, then everyone just
Says, okay, fine, I'll take my ball and go home.
Exactly. It's like, okay, fine, we'll have an arm wrestling contest instead, and that's usually the
Or sack races on consecutive Sundays.
yes to determine the championship.
But yeah, that did not happen this time.
No, and did they get bit in the butt?
Yeah, they did. So yeah, that's, I mean, who knows what, Silicon Knights was the company that did Too Human, which I think was meant to be like a trilogy, and ended up the first one was so bad, well, maybe not bad, but so difficult to play in a lot of ways that they just sort of
Yeah,
stopped.
I think what was it, like 4.7 million? They're going to be like at the end of the day. Why wouldn't they just pay the license? Like I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure they had a billion chances that Unreal's like, okay, you want to pay now? You want to pay now? And they're like, no, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
We're using the Unreal engine. See, we put an R in front of it. All right.
Well, that's the last bit of. Well, actually, one more bit of sort of newsy news before we get in, because
Newsy news.
I know you've got a topic that you'd like to discuss
Yes.
today, and we'll definitely get to that. But I've been mentioning this a couple times because I watched Adam Sessler since he was
Yes.
way back in the day, and he is now this week. He's moving on, and we know where he's moving on to. He's moving on to Revision 3.
Good.
He's been doing. I mean, if there is such a thing as an old school video game sort of journalist celebrity, he would be it. I mean, these days, obviously, you've got sort of the new generation of games journalists who sort of have grown up in this particular generation, the PS3, Xbox 360 sort of, there's a lot of names that people know, but this guy's been reviewing games since, I think they said he was doing it for like 14 years.
The ColecoVision.
I mean, in gaming years, that's what, like 150?
Yeah, I don't know what the ratio is.
So he's moving on to Revision 3.
Good for him.
Rev 3 games. So for more information on that, you can always check the show notes.
Yeah.
All right, so you wanted to talk about something that came out of the Uncharted, is it Golden, what is it, Golden Abyss?
The
Postmortem
correct
on Gamasutra.
This basically, from what I've understood, is that they were talking about the writing for Uncharted Golden Abyss.
Right.
And what focus groups were finding is that the female character was coming off as what they said was a wimp.
Right.
Because what the person, and I don't have names, we'll link to the article, so I apologize. But what was being said is that the writers were being lazy.
Yeah.
And they were just putting the female character got caught.
In Princess Peach scenarios, as they called it.
Yeah. So put in jail, whatever. And then when they tried to beef her up, for lack of a better term, I'm sorry. She came off as brash and I don't know. Can I say that?
You can say
B-word?
bitchy.
Yeah, bitchy and prissy. And,
Yeah.
And so it just brought up this great point. Like, we can look at this just an overall in society today, how strong women there's a definite, are they leaders or are they just, mean girls?
Well, but, and in the gaming realm, I think it's no secret to anybody who pays attention to games that there's a dearth of good female protagonists. And I think, one of the things I did read about this was that, there was a particular situation where she was on a rope bridge and she gets caught by one of the bad guys and she's getting choked. And you as Dirk, whatever the main guy's name
Drake?
is. Drake.
No. Yes.
As Drake, you have to use your sniper rifle to take the guy out. And so the way that they changed that to make it a little bit more empowering, or I guess give her a little bit more agency, was that instead of that exact situation, she gets caught, but then she knees the guy in the crotch and runs off. You still have to snipe the guy as he's chasing her, but she's actually taking a little bit more control of her own destiny.
Even that the only defense a female has is going for the crotch shot, and that's it. Like, you know, I know fairly women that can punch me out.
Sure, and I will
wrestle
tell you
me
this:
down.
when I was at IndieCade, I actually did go to a panel that was on not only this. It was about sort of all sorts of minority voices in gaming. You know, whether it's transgendered or female or people of color or what have you. I mean, there was basically a panel of a bunch of people exploring why this is a problem in gaming. Like, why is it that there are not more voices being heard, and then what can we do to sort of help this situation along? And their conclusion, and again, and I don't know because exactly what the situation is with this, but the first and foremost thing is, was this a woman who was writing this game?
Probably not.
Exactly. And that is more often than not, that is going to be why you cannot find the female voice in the writing in a game like this.
And then I think it also has. I tend to think or hope that gamers are also more liberal in ways they may lean thinking.
Well, it depends on which gamers.
And then that was my pendulum. Is then there's the total other side.
Yeah.
But then I we're talking about stereotypes, and unfortunately, I have to explain the stereotype by bringing up another stereotype.
Okay.
But a lot of these games are made in Japan.
I don't think this game was made in Japan.
Well, I mean,
this is Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog is here in the U.S.,
okay.
right?
But I'm
Sony
saying
Computer Entertainment of America.
Right, but it isn't most. Okay, fine. But like what I'm saying is that to sell games in Japan,
that is a bigger conversation. I think that the conversation
but
we're having
you
now
get
is
what
a
I'm
good one.
saying. Is
but yes, I mean,
the
the gender
audience.
stereotypes and the gender issues that come out of the Japanese gaming machine is very different than what's coming out of the United States, in my opinion. You know, I definitely think this discussion about gendered characters, you know, and we dealt with it when we were making Uncle Slam. You know, there was a very real possibility that Sarah Palin may end up as a candidate, or if not her, Michelle Bachmann. And so that we had to face a question like, okay, we've got a game that is, by its nature, it's historical and it's about presidents, and there hasn't been a female one. So we neatly sidestepped the issue of, is there a violence against women issue there? And if one of these, if either Hillary or, you know, Michelle Bachmann or whatever, if they had become the candidate, we would have had a situation where we'd had men beating up women and women beating up men. And the question then becomes, do you make a point of sort of calling it out? Do you just sort of let it be? You get yelled at from either side, really.
But then you can have the point where, like in fighter games, you know, I guess, you know, Dead or Alive notwithstanding, but it could be like, oh, why is there only men fighting? Are you saying that only men can fight and females can't?
Well,
there's that too. It's like, well, no, you put the female in there to make it equal.
That's what I'm saying. And I actually did raise my hand and ask this question. I said, so, and in this particular case, it was a discussion of gay characters. And it was basically, you know, I approached the question like this. Okay, so let's say I'm making a game, all right? And we're a small studio. It's, you know, 2 guys and a woman who is the designer. And let's say that I want to have a lesbian character and I want to explore a lesbian storyline. And if I make her butch, I'm going to get in trouble for basically saying, well, all lesbians are butch. If I make her not butch, then I get yelled at for, oh, you're just making a lipstick lesbian. That's just what men's beautiful sort of like fantasy of what a lesbian is. And honestly, you get yelled at from either side. And so I asked that question. I said, what do? They said, well, you hire a woman to help you write the game. And that was the smartest answer that they could have given.
Yeah.
You know, if the inherent problem comes when we as men think that it's our job to do all of these things.
And then that also then comes down to getting females, and this is another conversation, but getting females into wanting to code and wanting to write things. We had the opportunity of having a high school intern this summer who was a female who didn't want to. She specifically said, I do not want to draw. I want to design.
I want to build games.
I want to build the game. I don't want to draw.
I don't want to market games. You know,
Yes.
I don't want to smile in the picture holding the game. I
Right.
want to make the game.
And that was great.
Yes.
And we told her, like, don't give up. You're probably going to, get some barriers, but don't give up. You're going to be great at it.
And I will tell you that one of the people that was on that panel at Indiecade was a woman, and she was the either director or producer of Uncharted 3. So I don't think, I believe this one was sort of developed in tandem with Uncharted 3. So it could have just simply been that they were working in parallel and they didn't have a lot of overlap. But I do think that some of the steps that were taken
yes.
and some of the steps that were outlined here were that they focus grouped it, they found out what people think, and they made active choices to try and change the narrative.
Yeah,
a
the
little
director for this was John Garvin, but at least he's, I am giving him 100% credit for focus grouping it,
Yeah.
seeing an issue, and not being like, oh, well, you know what, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, actually, and then talking about it, and so we can discuss this.
Yeah, and gender in games is obviously, this is not an issue that's going to go anywhere. It's not going to get fixed.
No.
It is an ongoing dialogue. And I think as long as people are still willing to have the dialogue, I think nothing but good can come from it.
And this is the final point I'm going to be at. Like, the best, I think everyone could think of, like, when you think of what is the most powerful or strongest female character in video games, I think a lot of people would go to Lara Croft. Unfortunately, Lara Croft looks like...
Yeah.
So it would be funny, it'd be interesting to see, okay, fine, let's just put Lara Croft in a bee suit.
Yeah.
And have her play. Would that still be a fun game?
Well, and I'll tell you what, I will make, here's the capper on this, because there was another story this week that I thought was really interesting, which was about a father who wanted to play, it might have been Wind Waker, I think, but it was one of the Zelda games, and he actually went in, hacked the ROM, and changed every gender referral in terms of Link to female. So he could play it with his daughter, and that she could then, because there's a lot been said about the idea that Link, the concept of the name Link, is specifically the link to you as the player, and even if the player is sort of nebulous and doesn't have a gender, there's still times where other characters refer to this character and say him or
Right. You can't have Link be everything. You got to throw a pronoun in
so
there.
he just said, you know what, I'm just going to hack the ROM and change it, and he did. And I think that the more you see people doing that in a grassroots way, the more you're going to see the big AAAs start to take notice.
Well, Mass
and
Effect
say,
at least did that. They gave you the choice of being, male or female, and so we're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like it has to be a male character. What's his name? Shepard had to be a male.
Femshep.
Yeah, so
as they say.
So yeah,
Right on.
How we doing?
We're doing good. I think we should get into the what's coming out.
So
this
what's
week. All right. So, I'm going to do this in two sections this week because we got our big names.
Section 1.
Section 1. So the big names, we got Hitman Absolution. We've got PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, which I think I'm going to get. It's basically Super Smash Brothers, but with PlayStation characters.
Yeah.
And my guess is it's going to be a little bit more adult than Super Smash Brothers, which means I think I might enjoy it.
All right.
I don't mean adult like sexy. I just want to clear that up.
Well, you mean like in violent?
I mean, just then Kratos is in it, which means that someone's going to get their head cut off. All right, we got Family Guy, Back to the Multiverse.
Final. No. Yes, this I'm getting the other two convicted, but this
You're
got,
thinking of Stick of Truth?
Yeah, but I think this one did actually get pushed back a little bit.
I believe it
but-
did, yes.
So,
And then we've got Epic Mickey 2, The Power of 2, coming out for a bunch of additional platforms. I believe this has already been out in some place, but it's actually coming out for Mac, I noticed, which is kind of interesting. But then, of course, obviously the big news is that the Wii U is finally going to be coming out with its bevy of launch titles. So a number of these titles are going to be ones that you've already seen and probably already played on other consoles, but we've got... not this one, obviously. New Super Mario Brothers U. We've got Ninja Gaiden 3, Call of Duty Blops 2. We've got Borderlands 2, and then Zombie U and Nintendo Land, which are two of the sort of, I guess, tech demo-y kind of. This is what the new console's all about kind of games.
Now I do have to I want to mention here that it's not on your list. This game actually came out today, and unfortunately, I just added it today.
Okay.
But there is an Assassin's Creed trilogy
Oh, I did see that.
that has Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. So basically the 3 chapters of Assassin's Creed 2 all in one.
Right.
And
and the
actually-
Enzio trilogy, I
The
think it's
Enzio
called?
trilogy.
Yeah.
This is, you can totally blame me and fire me, but I did not. It actually was announced like in September, and
You're fired.
I just saw it and I was like, crud. But you can pre-order it and buy it still through GameMinder right now.
Nice.
So I wanted to put that in there.
Excellent.
Am I hired back?
You're hired back. Just in time to tell me what your pick of the week is going to be.
My pick of the week is a game that was entered today, and it's called, oh, what the heck? It's called Power Rangers Super Samurai.
Oh my god, I was gonna pick that one. It's a Kinect game.
It's a Kinect game.
Yeah.
How are they still relevant?
Oh man, see, I used to watch Power Rangers, and honestly, I think that my kids would get a huge kick out of this game.
Core, I hate Power Rangers because it's just a live-action Voltron, and
Dude,
Voltron,
the pink Power Ranger.
whatever.
Come on, man.
Okay, but she's 50 now,
She's not 50. She's like my age.
and you are old.
I am 35, dude. Oh my god. Anyway, my pick of the week is Karateka.
Yes.
Which you may recognize that name because it's actually a game from the Apple IIe days, and it's going through that same thing that like Spy vs. Spy went through and all these other games recently where they're rebooting it and they're making it a little bit more three-dimensional, and it looks like it's going to be
all three-dimensional.
Well, but I'm just saying it was like when it's like
Yeah, it was a stick figure hitting a block.
yeah, exactly. But they're cleaning it up and turning it into something cool. So I'm going to be interested to play that. It is actually out already for Xbox Live Arcade, but it's coming for like PS3 and
iOS and Android,
iOS and Android. So I'll probably play it when it comes out for that. So
For the Android.
yeah, for Android probably. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for the GameMinder Report this week. To view the show notes for this episode or follow any of the games mentioned today, don't forget to visit GameMinderReport.com/26.
And to see when the newest games are listed, don't forget to follow GameMinder on Twitter or visit us on Facebook.com/GameMinder.
And to follow all your favorite upcoming games, don't forget to visit GameMinder.com or download the app for iOS or Android.
And finally, don't forget to buy all your games through the website or app. Every game you pre-order or purchase helps support this show and the service. Signing off for the Game Minder Report, I'm Jim.
And I'm Jeremy, reminding you,
Don't forget to play.